Hi, friends. It's Father Andy, and it's March 18th. And um, our social distancing continues, and maybe many of you are going a bit stir crazy by now, thinking, I've read as many of these books as I can read for now, or I've watched as much Netflix as I can handle, or I've had just about enough of my kids for the day. And I want to encourage you to keep to persevere in this time of social distancing. I know it's difficult. Many of you probably are experiencing loneliness and isolation as well, and that makes it hard, and it makes us want to get out. And our way of discipleship this Lent is hard for many of us. Um, I saw a T-shirt many years ago that said, "Jesus is coming. Look busy." and uh, I think many of us sort of feel like we need to be busy in this time, that we need to occupy ourselves somehow. If we could only do something, well, then this might not all feel so bad, and we might not be so anxious, we might not be so afraid. We might not feel so lonely if we could only do something for someone else. But of course, in this time of social distancing, as we are trying to protect one another, as our love for one another dictates that we take time away from one another, that's the one thing that we're finding it difficult to do, is to find ways of being for one another without being with one another. And so I wanted to just speak to that tonight, because I want to be able to do something. The first thing I thought of was all these people who are going to be hungry and who are going to have needs. How do we help them? And the vestry and I have reached out to our community partners, and we've reached out to many of you, and we'll continue to reach out to you to make sure that anything you need, if you need people to run and get groceries for you, if you need people to run and get prescriptions for you, if you need anything, that we are taking care of one another, and that we are using our resources to benefit the community at large, because that is our mission. But our mission also is right now to protect one another by staying at a safe distance from one another, so that we don't spread this virus any further. And so it may be hard to see how that's a way of discipleship right now. And let me suggest something then to you. I was revisiting something that I read some years ago by H. Richard Niebuhr. He and his famous brother Reinhold Niebuhr were both ethicists in the middle of the 20th century. And this was about war. They were debating whether we should get involved in World War II before Pearl Harbor. And but I was struck by H. Richard's little essay, "The Grace of Doing Nothing." And he opens it by saying, "It may be that the greatest moral problems of the individual or of a society arise when there is nothing to be done." I think that's one of the things that makes us so anxious, is if only we could do something, maybe we would all feel a little better, but it feels like there's nothing to be done. And in part, that's right. In part, there isn't much to be done, at least right now, except to try to protect each other by keeping our distance. But that's not quite the full truth, is it? I think in many ways this is an invitation for us to come back to the root of what it means to be church, of the principal work of being church. We often think that the work of being church is showing up together on Sunday morning, or feeding the hungry, or doing, and we forget that the first job of the church is to be, that the first job of the church is to pray. And so I wanted to remind us there's a reason that morning prayer and evening prayer and the daily office are the first services in our prayer book, because that's the real heartbeat of what it means to be church, especially in the Anglican tradition, is to be engaged in prayer. Now, many of you might say, "But I don't really know how to pray." And that's fine. I understand that anxiety. And let me just say to you then, this book of common prayer, we call it the Book of Common Prayer, not because it's ordinary prayer, but because it's the prayer that we hold in common. It's all of our prayer. So this book is for you. The words in this book are for your prayer life. And I invite you to play around with it. You can go to morning prayer or evening prayer or devotions, or flip to the Psalter or flip through the Eucharistic prayers. Any of the words in here are for you. You might pray the offices, or you might just find the words that mean the most to you. Whenever I'm stuck, I often flip to the Psalms and look for something that speaks to my heart and speaks to where I am before God. And tonight I thought Psalm 121 was calling my name, and maybe it's calling yours too. I lift up my eyes to the hills. From where is my help to come? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot be moved, and he who watches over you will not fall asleep. Behold, he who keeps watch over Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord himself watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand, so that the sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve you from all evil. It is he who shall keep you safe. The Lord shall watch over your going out and your coming in, from this time forth forevermore. May you be encouraged, beloved, to pray. Pray by just opening your heart, or by finding words in the Book of Common Prayer, or lift up the health workers and the retail workers and the transportation workers who are making it possible for all of us to keep our distance from each other right now, keeping us all safe and healthy and sound as much as they can by putting their own health and lives at risk. Pray for all of those you love. Pray for all of those you don't even know. Look for every opportunity around you to see the miracles in your life and in the world around us. This is an invitation to let our hearts sink deeper into prayer and into God. And I hope you will find this time to be fruitful in that way. Well, those are just a few thoughts for you tonight. I'll have more tomorrow. But in the meantime, may God's blessing be with you and remain with you all this evening. And may you have a peaceful night. See you tomorrow.